Hi, this is Louise the Gat from the Purpose-Led School, and welcome to this week's short. What I want to explore together today is the choice for the discomfort. And where that's come from is I was recently watching one of my favorite series, which is New Amsterdam. And what that series is about is a innovative director of an old hospital who tries to bring change. At heart, he's a visionary, he's a disruptor, he wants to make that positive difference. And yes, it's fiction, but in a lot of ways, it brings to the forth a lot of the challenges that we have as the ones who want to bring the new. And so in the series, we walk with him through the highs and lows of wanting to bring change. And the episode I was watching recently was when he wanted to tackle climate change and the relationship between what the hospital was doing and its impact on climate change. And he decided he was going to bring in a series of initiatives. Well, initially, he just wanted to bring one initiative. And that was that he realized that one of the core aspects that was happening in the hospital was the use of gloves, the use of disposable gloves. And of course, that is core to be able to have the doctors and the nurses and the staff be safe and also not to spread infection. But ultimately, he decided he wanted to tackle that. And what he wanted to do was to reduce the amount of gloves that were disposed. And so he started an initiative where he literally just gave them a very small quantity of gloves and said, hey, from now on, this is your quota for the day. And for the rest of the time, you're going to have to wash your hands with antibacterial gel. Now, what he encountered by doing that was a mini, let's say, actually big revolution. And so what happened is that he backed down because it seemed that it was actually creating too much pushback from people in the hospital. But he wasn't going to be deterred. So the second initiative that he decided to launch instead was to have that all the meals, both for staff and for patients, would be vegetarian and to take out any meat. Because, of course, he'd seen how meat was a great impact of climate change. And so that's what he did. Overnight, he said, right, no meat. And guess what happened? He encountered a mini big revolution with people pushing back and saying that was completely unacceptable. And so again, he backed down. But again, he wasn't meant to be deterred. And so he tried a third initiative. And there he tackled the lights and decided to change all the lights in the hospital to LED lighting. Ultimately, that hospital was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so the change of lighting had to be done whilst doctors and nurses were dealing with procedures, with even emergencies. And so the emergency department pushed back and said, hey, you just can't be bringing in LED lighting when we're trying to deal with emergencies. And again, they made a good case that it didn't really help them, that it was something difficult to implement. And so guess what? He backed down once more. But then he sat with it. And this is the piece that for me really landed home. And I think that each one of us probably need to land within ourselves. Is that he realized that what he was focusing on was the wrong thing. In the sense that it wasn't about the initiatives. It was about the fact that none of us are willing to choose the discomfort. Because for a lot of us, we're pretty satisfied in our lives if we live in the Northern Hemisphere. For those of us whose lifestyle is actually impacting climate change the most. And in a lot of ways, we have it pretty good. And the scale of the change that is asked of us is not comfortable. It means that we have to be willing to shift from a status quo, when in a lot of ways we are pretty satisfied, to choosing the discomfort. This isn't just about change agents guiding change. It's about each one of us choosing to be uncomfortable because we are going into the wilderness. We are choosing to go into the wilderness, to go beyond the status quo, to go beyond what we know. And that is not comfortable. And so in New Amsterdam, what he decided to do was he decided to do all three initiatives. And he came back and he said, the problem is that whatever I do, I'm going to get pushback. Because any change that I bring are not going to be comfortable. But if we're going to actually change something, and yes, it's even more extraordinary in the sense that we are changing something for generations to come. You're changing something for your children. You're changing something for your grandchildren. And if you don't have children, for somebody else's children and grandchildren. But what he was saying is change is not comfortable. But if we are going to change something, we're all going to have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And starting with me as the change agent, knowing that I'm going to get pushback. If I bring change, I'm never going to be able to make everybody happy. So as a change agent, I'm going to start by being willing to be in the discomfort. To not just be that good soldier, who's doing well in the status quo and getting nice pats. I'm the one who's going to bring the discomfort. And I'm going to invite others and name it. Name that the issue is not the change, it's the discomfort. And invite all of us to choose and embrace that discomfort. And so I want to give you a minute to let that sink in. Where are we choosing the comfort of what we know and of the stuff being pretty good? And are we willing instead to choose the discomfort? And as always, let me know how this lands, what it sparks up, and what you're going to do differently as a result.